lessons to our repository, and actually that's a process that we're going to be refining in the next 2 weeks. And then we're going to do an Open Science 101 session, which is going to be a bit of a discussion, open discussion, but also all the sessions are based on the materials that are in the new orientation. So there's quite a bit of new stuff in the orientation that wasn't in any of our existing materials before about open science. It's in section 4 of the orientation guide. And then session 4 will be about growing your community and sort of next steps for study groups. So if you are interested in, as an existing study group lead, sitting in on just doing Q&A, under line 139, just type your name and maybe the session you want to sit in on, and we'll try to get you in one that will be a good time for you where you live, so you won't have to get up insanely early. So if you know someone who wants to start a group, or is interested in the study group program or has been asking you about it, you can either add their name below or just like put a note. If you don't want to put their name, just say, I know somebody, and put your name and I will contact you. We're going to start this study group orientation program next week. It looks like from the responses that I've gotten on the surveys right now that those sessions will be on Fridays. There's a scheduled preference form for the different groups under line 146. So if you know somebody who wants to be part of this and they want to weigh in on what day we're doing it, right now it's been looking like it's going to be Fridays, but they could fill out a schedule preference. And you could also fill out too if you want to be in on these and you want to just be sure that you can make it. So group 2 is Pacific Standard Time, Central Time, and group 1 is West Africa time, Eastern European time, Indian time, and all that. The study group guide is on line 149. That is still being tweaked, but there's a lot of new material there, and so we invite you to take a look at it, read through, and if you see a problem or have a question, you're always welcome to open an issue in the repo about that. And then the other thing I wanted to do is just put a little plug-in for the Gator Chat. There is a study group Gator Chat, and as we're doing the orientation, I'm going to be inviting more and more all the new people to come and be part of the Gator Chat. And I wanted to invite you guys to make the Gator Chat feel welcoming, awesome, and fun. And I had a suggestion, which is if you remember, and if you have time to, just after you guys have a study group session, just throw a little update in the Gator Chat, and it could just be 2 lines. Like, we worked on this last night, a bunch of people came, it was great. We tried this last night, didn't work so great. But it would be great if we could use that Gator Chat to sort of just get a sense of like what's happening in the study group community on an ongoing basis, really informally. And that might also be a good way for you all to just connect more regularly and see what's going on and share ideas, as opposed to feeling like you have to wait for this monthly call to get updates and find out what's been going on. So I want to suggest that people try to do that, and maybe if some of you do that, then it'll catch on and be trendy, and everyone will be doing it. Also, you feel free to talk about any lessons or ideas or any problems and questions in that Gator Chat, and I'll keep trying to post in there and keep it lively. But I do think that one of the things that's powerful about the study group model generally is that not only do you have a peer-to-peer network in your own local area, but you potentially are connected to this, like really what is a global network of people doing this work, and it's super cool. So if you're not in the Gator Chat already, please come join us. And I don't know, I think that's all I had to say. Are there any questions about any of this right now? I see a question coming in.
Any plans for expanding the regional focus to other regions?
I think like what we've been looking at now is just the way we decided to kind of create those time zones and those different orientation meetings was by looking at the new forks, and also when people were signing up on the website and saying, hey, I'm interested in starting their study group, just where were those people living? But we also do want to expand. I mean, I know I used to live in Brooklyn, but now I live in the Southeast US in Florida. And as long as I'm here, right, I might as well try to get a study group going in my community, or at least talk to people in the area. Weirdly, we don't have any study groups in New York that I know of, other than Aurelia's informal one that meets occasionally. But we want to build up in some of the obvious areas, like where we are, and then we also do want to push outwards a bit. But I think there's a little bit of a give and take, right? Like, we want you guys where you are to have good resources, and we want to give study groups that are existing the love and attention that they need to grow and get bigger. And if you're in a region, like, I don't know how many people here, and you can just yell out, are in a, is there another study group kind of near where you live? Like, obviously in the Northeast, there's a Rhode Island study group, there's a Boston study group, and a Maine study group. Sarah, are there other study groups kind of near where you are? Not sure. So this is like part of the problem, and it's part of the larger strategy, right? Like, we don't want you to be isolated, and a big part of the Mozilla philosophy and plan and way of thinking about organizing is obviously online collaboration, but there's something really powerful about in-person events and meetings. And so it's really great when we can start to think about, like we have in the Northeast US, at least once in a while, bringing a bunch of people together in the same room to do something fun, like either participate in a talk or hack on something or have a learning session. And that's a really nice way to strengthen those connections and have people networking. So yeah, we definitely want to expand the regional focus to other regions in the future. If there's not a study group near you guys, near where you are now, other than your group, like, we want to start seeing if we can build those out. If it ever makes sense for you to connect with local universities when we have sprints coming up, that's sometimes a good way to bring people from the community in, an event for people from other institutions or labs to come in and do stuff. And Sarah, just remind me where you are again. Are you in the, am I remembering right?
I'm
You're
in
Midwest. I'm in Madison.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess Chicago might be closer.
Yeah, so there is a study group in Chicago, and I think that there's going to be another one in Chicago, and then I believe there might be one coming up in Illinois, like people who have registered for the orientation. There might be some folks in Illinois.
That's great. I actually went to the University of Illinois for my undergrad, so I'd be excited if they'd start one there.
Cool.
I had a question if anybody knows of, because this came up in one of my sessions, somebody talking about, like, connecting with other local meetups or organizations. Have other study groups tried that or thought about that at all? Or I'm just curious. It came up in the context of Haskell and Haskell programming. I was like, I don't know anything about Haskell. They're like, oh, there's a local meetup. I wonder if we could do something with them. I was like, I was just curious if anyone has done that.
Doesn't sound like it, but when you do, if you do and when you do, let us share and let us know how it goes, and what that would look like. Would it just be, do you think it would just be inviting in members of that group, or doing a double meeting, or?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not exactly sure exactly what that would look like.
Do you know what Haskell program? I'm not familiar with that group, so.
It's the program behind Pandoc.
Oh, okay.
And it's all functional programming. It's a lot of types and stuff. I don't know anything about Haskell, but somebody was explaining it to me, and they're starting to get more interested in it. Said that they went to one of the meetups and really liked it, because there's like a community in the Boston area that is a developer community. So he was wondering if I'd thought about doing anything with them, and I was like, I hadn't. Hadn't crossed my mind. But.
I mean, it's always great to have smart developer resources in a study group. I think bringing that knowledge and information into the study group. I think my guess is that as long as you can communicate pretty clearly, like, the level that everyone is at in the study group and sort of how the study group is run and the vibe, and that the other person, that potential partner gets it, that then, yeah, totally do it, you know? But I think just as long as you don't bring someone in who's at a really different level technically and then just kind of confuses or alienates people, that would be the only, I mean, if they're developers, you know, that would be the only
Right.
I'd be worried about, you know, to just make sure that they know, you know, where you guys are at and what's most useful. So it's valuable for everybody.
Okay.
I think sometimes too, this isn't related to study groups, but for Girl Develop It, we have meetups, and we're all on meetup.com, so people are always like messaging us and saying, could you share our event? And sometimes they ask to do partner events, and we had one on Go once where someone, like none of us know anything about Go, and we were like, oh yeah, we'll partner with the Go meetup, but I asked them to nominate someone in their community who was like a newbie to teach the session, because our community didn't really know anything about Go. And that really, I think, made it easier because that person was kind of learning and they were getting their first experience teaching a session, which was a big deal for them. And it kept the conversation a bit more civil and slower so that our community could engage, because the reason they reached out was they were like, we have 43 members and 2 are women. And the women never come to the sessions, and you guys have 10,000 members and you're all women, so maybe we could join. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I like that reason, but let's try to make it productive. And so yeah, it was really kind of weird to do, and also like the cross-posting thing too, because you have to figure out the logistics of who's going to post the event. Are you going to just like promote their event and invite your community, or are you going to create your own event page or, you know, event announcement and then invite them to their venue? That kind of stuff is also like something to suss out in the first meetings.
Do we have any other thoughts or questions about the study group orientation materials and upcoming trainings? All right, I think the next, let me get down to line 166 where we start the updates. Do you just want to go in order? So on 173, I think we have U of T, scientific coders.
Yeah. So I think we just held a session on intro to SQL, SQL using SQLite and Python and R. I think that went really well. We have a video recording of it as well. So we've been trying to record it. I think Madeline has said that we've been trying to record as many as we can, and then put them up on our website too. So that worked well. And then upcoming we have LaTeX intro, and then a discussion on careers outside academia in using technology and skills like that. So that'll be interesting. I think we have some people who were finished up with masters and are gonna try to and are now working at a startup or something like that, and they're gonna come talk about their experience and then have people discuss this kind of thing. So I'm excited about the upcoming month.
Can I ask a question about, sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to ask a question too, but go ahead.
Can I ask a question about how you put your videos up? Do you just record them in YouTube or something, and then you put it embedded as like an iframe, or how do you do that on your site?
So we use Google Hangouts, and then we can record those and put them onto a YouTube site, put them to the associated YouTube Google account, and then we just link them on our website. So they're not embedded yet, so that's a good point. But that's something we could definitely try to do, just to make it all more easy to access. Yeah.
The question I had is with the career outside of academia. Are the people who are coming, were they previous members of the study group and they're kind of coming back, or how did you come up with these?
So the couple of people that that I've talked to who are coming and gonna be discussing have come to sessions before, or they've taught, or they've just come to learn, and we're obviously opening it up to anybody who maybe we don't even know that they are now working in tech, but they see our email and they might want to come and discuss their own path. So, yeah.
It's a great session idea.
Yeah. excited for that one.
Any other thoughts or updates from U of T? Or questions? All right, so next it looks like Bruno's on vacation. Is Jeff on the call? You know that?
No, I don't think he can join. He just did his updates.
Yeah, so he posted a few updates in the Etherpad there. I won't rehash those right now. So I'm up next with the BU study group. We did our last 3 sessions were on open data, makefiles, and RESTful APIs. All went pretty well, but we're starting to hit kind of the slowdown time of the semester, I think. So our sessions have gone from like 8 to 10 people to, you know, maybe 3, 4, 5 people showing up. So I think we might sort of step back and do lighter co-working sessions or something moving forward, just to, you know, kind of appreciate where other people are. But that's, yeah, that's, we don't have too much else kind of planned right now. Sarah's saying she has a similar reaction. Is Sue on the call? I see she. Oh, nope. Looks like they've done a writers group, a Linux boot camp, which looks interesting, and they're doing some data carpentry workshop. On line 203, Danielle.
All right. Hello. Sorry.
Oh.
I always start talking when I'm still muted. So yeah, I have been not starting anything because I have a defense date coming up imminently. But I've done some organizing with our librarians and some other students, and I think I have a bunch of people who want to work on this with me, and also some outreach at Reed College, which is a cool college. I don't know if any of you guys know anyone who went there. It can be very theoretical. And so I got to talk to some of their computer science majors, and they're like, yes, we need this. Because they would like to learn some practical skills. So they have a cool little group called the STEM Gems, which is, it used to be STEM Femmes, but now they're STEM Gems, which is even more inclusive, which is another great thing about Reed. And so I'm hoping to figure out how to work with them. There are some logistical issues because they are an undergrad institution where everyone lives in the dorms and doesn't have cars. So we'll have to think about like whether I just work with some leaders and try to help them get something going. They all seem really interested, but also really busy with their coursework. So, but they do have some faculty who we could probably work with too. So I'll just have to do a little more organizing work to get something going there. But there's definitely interest in this from the students. So that's what's going on with me.
Great. Any thoughts or questions or reactions? Next is it Uttar? Is he on the call? And then Dinah ML in the Mozilla Science Lab. I saw that just was typed in.
Yeah, I think Amit is both of the same. They're both the same person, and I don't know if he can do audio. He's chatting in the sidebar, but I'm not sure he's able to do the audio. So he's probably just giving updates.
Okay. And then line 217, is that you, Sarah?
Yeah, that's me. Yeah, we've been having our in Python study group regularly. We have the same issue as you had, Tom, where we had like 8 to 10 people at the beginning sessions, and then it's kind of dropped off to about 4 people per meeting now. I'm hoping to try and ramp up my advertising again and maybe overcome that deficit, but I'm not really sure. I think it might just be that time of semester when people start to get busy. But the next couple weeks we're talking about D-Flyer and pandas, and I've got some code that I'm gonna bring in to let people review for part of the that session. So I'm hoping that'll be fun. That's pretty much it.
What are you thinking for like your advertising efforts? Like
So
emails or posters or?
Yeah, this is actually kind of crazy that it took me about a year of doing Python study group before someone suggested that we put up advertisements on the jumbotrons, they're by the elevators in our building. There's these advertising screens, and so I'd like to try and I've been slacking off. I haven't been making flyers for every meeting anymore, and so I think I'd like to try and get them back on that. And then another building we get a lot of people from has screens as well, and trying to get them up on those regularly. So physical flyers, but digital physical flyers.
What building are you in, Sarah?
I'm in the microbial sciences building.
Whoa, okay. I went to Madison, so I'm always like, oh, where do you get people from? The physics building? What's the other building?
The other building is genetics, so we get a lot of people from both genetics and microbial sciences. I could probably advertise in some other buildings as well. I need to kind of put out feelers to see where people are interested. But so that's generally where we get people from, so genetics and micro.
Cool.
Sarah, last year we, some designers from the Mozilla Foundation helped make some flyers and banners and advertising for Tom's study group. And I'm pretty sure that we still have those materials. They looked pretty good.
Cool.
I thought, and they're probably easily modified and edited. So if you're interested, we can look those up and see if you want some kind of fancy looking professional flyers. We could send them to you.
I actually have some nice flyers that are easily customizable. Mine have a little bee on them because combi. It's on a graph.
Oh, okay.
It's actually super cute, I think, but I need to make sure I actually update it every 2 weeks and then put them up.
Okay, yeah. So if you have one that's special for your group, but for other people who are looking for ways to advertise, we do have some design work was made for study group advertising. So I think maybe Aurelia and I can track down where those live and put them on a repo somewhere.
I still have copies if you can't, but I don't think I have the editable files. I think I just have like the PDF.
We have the editables in the swag pack link that's part of the Google Drive. So I'll reshare those with you, Zan, after the call, and we'll go over them. Maybe we can make some like themed ones and force them on all of you at some point. We'll put random noun project icons and things that might be flashy, some glitter.
More flair.
Any other thoughts or questions for Sarah? All right, and then is anyone on from the CERN study group? Is that just another update on it? And Randy, did you have updates or from the call? I see you're on here, so I thought maybe.
No, I'm not running a study group or anything at the moment, but I'm definitely going to look into it.
So kind of jumping through the Etherpad here pretty quick, we have on 240 a list of topical examples and tutorials on event planning. Those all look pretty good. I know I've been adding some of these links to some of the emails I sent out with the tools and tutorials, so they've been useful. People click into them.
Cool. Also, maybe Danielle can say a few words about her planning experience with Science Hack Day, because that was recent.
Yeah, sure. So that was pretty recent, and you can click the link on Etherpad to check out our website. We had a pretty big organizing committee. So I guess I'll back up a little bit. We had a big space, and we were targeting the event to be about 100 people. So that was the biggest event that I had ever done. So we had a pretty large organizing committee and tried to spread it out. The our goal was to get scientists to bring their scientific problems that might need hardware or software help, and get developers and hardware hackers all in the same room together for 24 hours and see what happens. So we had on our organizing committee some scientists and some people from the open source community and some people from the open hardware community, and we also lucked out in like timing our event to happen at the same time as a big open hardware conference that was happening in our town. So having a big organizing committee with people from different backgrounds of the communities we wanted to reach was really key, and that helped us, I think, gain some legitimacy. So we also went out and went to the different meetups from different groups and tried to pitch our event. And in terms of, so there was a lot of planning. We planned it for about 6 months. And then one thing I learned, though, is if you want like money from corporate sponsors, from businesses in your town, you can totally get that, but you have to ask them like in January for an event in October. If you ask them in August for an event in October, they've already committed their resources for the year. So that is just a tidbit that I will pass along to you, because I think we could have gotten more money, but in the end, we were fine, and we had some grant money, and some one of the local Mozilla offices donated a bunch of Raspberry Pis, which was huge. And so we had the food and the space and everything covered. Some feedback I got after the event was that people from all backgrounds really liked being introduced to other people when they showed up. So we tried to staff our desk with friendly faces and say, oh, hi, Toby, you're a software developer. Let me introduce you to these scientists that you might be interested in working with. And so we got some positive feedback on that. Everybody seemed to really like it. We also started a Slack channel about 3 months before the event where people could talk about what was going on, and several projects really took off from the Slack channel. We also did 2 informal happy hour style meetups before the event, and that was another place for people to connect in person, talk, like learn more about the event, try to like wrap their head around what they might do at this event, and then continue to connect on the Slack channel. So we tried to like get as much, because it is for Science Hack Day anyway, it's kind of like confusing for a lot of people. Like I had plenty of people be like, well, I don't have time for that. That was the scientists. And people say that they didn't quite understand like where their skill set would fit in if they didn't consider themselves an expert programmer. But in the end, we had a good group of about 120 people on the first night, and then 60 people consistently through like the event, the bulk of the event the next day. And I have a blog post which is on the Mozilla Science Lab blog if anyone wants to see more about like what were the projects that came out of it. And I think we're going to try to keep the momentum going with every other month meetups starting in December to keep the community together, because there's people still active on the Slack channel. Another thing we did, which I didn't realize how great it was until the event, was that somebody reached out to the Portland State Science Support Shop, which is a machine shop in town. And my institution doesn't even have a machine shop. But the Portland State Science Support Shop people showed up with 3 3D printers, and they were very apologetic that they weren't able to bring a 4th one. And 3D printed like stuff for people all night long. And so I think just trying to reach deep into your local region, and you never know what you'll find. It could be a guy who has access to 3 3D printers and is very excited about showing up with his whole workstation and printing things for people all night long. I had no idea that was going to happen. He seemed like a nice guy, and I was like, oh great, he'll come. But sometimes people really like deliver. So just trying to reach out as much as possible to all the institutions. Yeah, so that's my like scattershot, many different topics advice. But I'm happy to, if anyone else is interested in running a Science Hack Day, I'm happy to talk about it more in depth, or a hackathon that you want to get scientists or like non-typical hacker community people to show up at. I think we got some good feedback about like, you know, we also were about like 50-50 men and women, which, you know, Science Hack Day, San Francisco was really proud that they were 60-40 or something. So I feel like just the outreach that we did and the vibe that we set, for lack of a better word, helped people who don't normally go to hack days. Like we had one woman with her 1-year-old on her back the entire time, and she stayed until like 2 in the morning coding. And that, I feel like, she was like, I've never been to a hackathon before, but here I am with my 1-year-old. So I felt like we did some good stuff there. Yeah.
Danielle, can I ask how you knew, so when you introduced people, when they came in, did you know who they were ahead of time because of the Slack channel or because of a survey? Okay.
Sometimes the Slack channel, like that guy Toby that I thought of, I knew that he had been talking to some of the scientists, but I knew that I assumed that he didn't already know the 3D printer guy, so when he showed up, I was like, oh, you guys are going to work on this hardware-software integration project. Let me quickly run and introduce you to these key people. And so I tried to be like, oh, hey, what are you going to work on? And if I didn't have like a specific person that I thought that they should meet, so I thought like, okay, everyone needs to meet the 3D printer guy. But if there wasn't a specific person that they should meet, somebody brought something called the Internet of Buckets. Do you guys know what that is? You should look it up online. It's a really cool, it's sort of like an interactive art piece. It's a wall of buckets that's Wi-Fi enabled, and you can program it to, it's full of colored LEDs, and you can program it to do all kinds of things. And so if nothing else, I could say, hey, come check out our Internet of Buckets and talk to the Internet of Buckets people about like how to visualize data on the Internet of Buckets. So there were some like silly projects that had sort of wide appeal. And I really only had one guy who was like, I'm so sorry, I'm that guy. I brought my own project and I'm just here to like work on it. And I was like, that's fine, welcome. Here's the food, here's the coffee. But in our feedback, we got a lot of feedback on how friendly the event was. And that was from men and women. So I think, and I don't know because I haven't been to other hackathons, but maybe at other hackathons you just get like a nod when you walk in. I have no idea. But so I think because we got so much feedback on that, I feel like it must matter. It must be somehow something that set it apart from other events. We also had like 10 organizers, so there were enough people at all times that somebody had a moment to be like, hey, what do you need help with? Do you want to know where the hardware is? Do you like, let me show you the Raspberry Pi tower. Thank you, Mozilla. So I think that because we got so much feedback on that, I think it helped the vibe.
It sounds like an outstanding event. I mean, it sounds really impressive.
Yay. Yeah, we're also working on a GitHub now with where people will upload their projects. But there's like, one of the reasons I'm starting a study group is there's a whole bunch of scientists who like did my first coding project, and none of them know how to use GitHub. And they're like very intimidated. So that's coming along slowly.
Great. It's great work.
Thanks.
I was gonna say too, for the GitHub thing, for Science Hack Day space apps, we set up an GitHub organization, which means you can host a bunch of projects in the same like collection repo. So we did that a week in advance, and then we put our like little, I linked it online, I think 249 maybe, let me see, wait, where is it? It's somewhere where Science Hack Day, the data camp, yeah, 249. So we had like a little tutorial day that we did the day before to get everybody up to speed about different tools and things that they might explore. But I think your idea of doing like the meetups weeks in advance is actually nicer because people feel a bit stressed the night before, and then they feel like they have to stay late to learn all the things before they start their hackathon, and then they're exhausted and angry the next day. Not that anyone's angry, but But yeah, I think it would be helpful to have that further in advance. But we put that repo in, and then during the hackathon, I went from table to table after the teams formed, and I just created a repo for them with their chosen name, and then added them to it as collaborators. And then if they needed help uploading their code or something, because some of them were like, I use another version control system, or I use Bitbucket, but we wanted all the projects in the same collection so that we could track them later. And so we set up like a template README and asked them to fill it out with like their names and the description of their project. And then for Space Apps, in order to enter, you have to make a video, like a 2-minute video of your project. So they could upload their video in the README as an iframe, and we kind of templatized that and then helped them do it so that everyone could document. But I was kind of like full-time on that for the duration of the first day, just making sure everybody had a repo. And it kind of solved the issue of people not being ready with GitHub, but at least it solved the issue of us having a record of all the projects before the end, because at the end everyone's like, I don't care, the prizes have been given out and I'm tired and I don't want to document anything. So we at least had some kind of record of what happened. So maybe next time.
We totally should have done that. We were not thinking about that somehow until afterwards. And we're like, oh, whoops. But setting up a GitHub organization, I'll talk to the person who has done it and see if we did that, because I'm not sure. But that would be a better way, I think. Thank you.
I do want to be mindful of time. We're about 2 minutes, 1 minute now, according to my computer, so we should wrap up. There is a list of tools and podcasts and some announcements in the Etherpad and on 287. Really, do you want to do any updates from the last call and sort of wrap up?
Oh yeah, thanks. So someone asked, put an issue, like Xana suggested, put an issue in our orientation repo and asked if we could generate a PDF because of low bandwidth issues of the Git book. So we did do that, yay! The only problem is all the videos and everything is just like a black box in the PDF because that's the way the export tool works. But we'll be updating that when we update the repo, so you'll always be able to find like a mybook.pdf in the repo, which is also linked to in the README, and so you'll be able to see the PDF if you just want to download it and like have it as a reference or something in case you have low internet. And that's pretty much the only update. Our next call is December 2nd. Hip hip hooray. Looks like Achintia or someone who was green at some point volunteered to MC it, so I'll maybe like volunteer Achintia to to do it next time. We also have the newsletter on line 294, and I would love to feature like a little profile. It's like 2 lines, it's not a big deal. Maybe Lena, maybe I'll make you be the profile person for next month's newsletter. But I just include a little soundbite about you in a blog, and then I link to it in our newsletter, and it's really just a nice way to promote your study group. But if you want to volunteer, please don't let me stop you by volunteering another person. I would love to see more people be excited about being profiled in the newsletter. And that's all. Thanks.
Great. All right, great call. Everybody have a wonderful weekend.
Bye. Yeah,
Thanks,
you
everybody.
too.
Bye.
Really informative.
Yay,
Look
thanks.
forward to next month.
Cool.